crack formed across the fabric of reality, silent, impossible, and glowing with power no world was prepared to understand. The halo ring was dying. Master Chief sprinted through collapsing corridors as ancient Forerunner architecture buckled under gravitational stress. Behind him, the flood surged, a writhing biomass of corrupted flesh and stolen consciousness. Infection forms screeched through the air. Combat forms shambled forward with grotesque speed. Somewhere in the chaos, a proto-gravemind was forming, and Chief had exactly 4 minutes to prevent it from achieving critical mass. "Chief, the ring's destabilization is accelerating." Cortana's voice cut through his helmet speakers, sharp with urgency. "Detonating the reactor might buy us time, but there's something else. I'm detecting a massive energy signature in the sub-level structure. Forerunner, but different. The patterns don't match anything in our database." "How different?" Chief vaulted over a crumbling walkway, his Mjolnir armor's shields flaring as flood spores splattered against the energy barrier. "Different as in shouldn't exist in our dimension different. Chief, whatever's down there is drawing power from slip space itself. If we trigger the reactor detonation near it, we might stop the flood from escaping this ring." Chief's decision was instantaneous. He altered course, diving through a maintenance shaft that led deeper into the ring's superstructure. The chamber below defied physics. Geometric patterns of hard light twisted through space, creating impossible angles that hurt to perceive. At the center, suspended in a field of quantum foam, hovered an artifact. It resembled a Forerunner neural interface, but orders of magnitude more complex. Its surface rippled with glyphs that cycled through languages that predated humanity, predated the Covenant, perhaps predated the Forerunners themselves. "Cortana, what am I looking at?" Chief, this technology is beyond anything the Forerunners left behind. It's not just transdimensional, it's multiversal. This thing isn't opening portals through slip space, it's creating bridges between entirely separate realities." An explosion rocked the chamber. The flood had found them. Chief placed charges around the reactor core as infection forms swarmed from ventilation shafts. His assault rifle barked in controlled bursts. Headshots, center mass, precision born from decades of combat. But there were too many. A combat form lunged from the shadows. Chief drew his energy sword, the blade igniting with plasma fire, and bisected the creature mid-leap. "Charges set, 30 seconds. Chief, wait. The artifact is reacting to the energy buildup. The world exploded into light. Not the light of detonation. Something else. Something wrong. The artifact blazed with power that transcended the electromagnetic spectrum, creating colors that shouldn't exist. Space folded. Time fractured. Chief felt his atoms being pulled apart and stitched back together simultaneously. The halo ring, the flood, Cortana's screaming warnings, all of it collapsed into a single point of impossible geometry. And then, nothing. Delta Quadrant. Borg space. Coordinates. Unknown. The wreckage tumbled through the void, a twisted mass of Borg technology hemorrhaging plasma and atmosphere. What had been a scout ship, Cube Designation 7 Alpha 4, was now a debris field expanding at terminal velocity. At the center of the destruction, embedded in what remained of the vessel's assimilation chamber, lay a figure in green armor. Master Chief's biomonitors screamed alerts as consciousness returned. Hull breach, vacuum exposure, temperature, negative 270 degrees Celsius. His shields had absorbed the initial impact, but were down to 17%. The Mjolnir's environmental seals held, recycling oxygen from the armor's emergency reserves. "Cortana, report." Static. "Cortana, I'm here." Her voice was fragmented, distorted. "Chief, something's wrong with my matrix. The transition, whatever that artifact did, it's corrupted my base code. I'm running diagnostics, but where are we?" Chief pulled himself from the wreckage, magnetic boots locking onto twisted metal. Through the rent in the hull, space looked wrong. The stars were positioned in patterns that matched no UNSC navigation charts, no familiar constellations, no Milky Way galactic core alignment. Movement. A Borg drone, damaged but functional, staggered toward him through the zero-gravity environment. Its ocular implant focused on Chief with mechanical precision. Assimilation tubules extended from its mechanical arm, dripping with nanoprobe suspension. "We are the Borg. You will be assimilated. Resistance is—" Chief's fist caved in the drone's skull before it finished speaking. The body spiraled away, trailing freezing blood and hydraulic fluid. But there were more. Dozens of drones, all converging on his position. The Borg had detected an intruder, and their response was predictable. Assimilate or terminate. They tried. Assimilation tubules struck Chief's armor and shattered against the energy shielding. Nanoprobes sprayed across his visor, attempting to infiltrate the Mjolnir's systems. But Forerunner-derived shielding technology operated on principles Borg adaptation protocols couldn't comprehend. Neural interfaces attempted to penetrate his Spartan-augmented nervous system and encountered biological warfare countermeasures that had been fighting the Flood for decades. The Borg was sophisticated, terrifying, relentless. They had never encountered a Spartan-II. Chief moved through them like death incarnate. Neck snaps, precision strikes to mechanical components. One drone raised its arm to project a cutting beam. Chief caught the limb, reversed it, and used the beam to slice through 3 more drones in a single motion. His shields recharged between engagements. His reflexes operated faster than Borg adaptation cycles. In 43 seconds, the assault team was neutralized. "Chief, I've accessed what remains of this ship's databanks." Cortana's voice was stronger now, more stable. "This isn't Covenant technology. It's not Forerunner. It's completely alien. The ship's designation reads Borg Collective, Scout Class. But that's impossible. There's no species or faction called Borg in any UNSC database." Through the wrecked viewport, Chief spotted something that made his tactical analysis subroutines pause. A starship, massive, angular. Its hull bore markings that suggested Federation, but not the Colonial Administration Authority. This was something else entirely. The ship was approaching at impulse speed, scanning the wreckage with sensor beams that painted Chief's armor with exotic particles. "Cortana, are we receiving any transmissions?" "Multiple hails. Audio only. Language is English?" "No, it's close but formally structured." "Wait, I'm decoding." "Chief, they're asking if we need assistance. They're calling themselves the United Federation of Planets. Starship Voyager. Registry NCC 74656. The scout ship groaned, its structural integrity failing. Secondary explosions blossomed across the hull. "We need extraction, now." "Agreed. Chief, I'm establishing a communication channel. But we need to be careful. We don't know where or when we are." That artifact didn't just move us through space. It moved us through dimensions. The Voyager's hail grew more insistent. Master Chief looked at the approaching starship, at the alien wreckage around him, at stars that belonged to someone else's sky. He'd fought the Covenant across 1,000 worlds, battled the Flood on Installation 04, survived the Ark. But this was something new. "Open a channel, Cortana. Let's find out what kind of universe we just crashed into." If you want to see more universe crossovers, hit subscribe and comment which character or world you want to see collide next. The wreckage shuddered one final time as Voyager's transporter beam locked onto the armored figure drifting in the void, pulling Master Chief into a universe where humanity had evolved along an entirely different path, and where the greatest threats were only just beginning to converge. The transporter beam released Master Chief onto a platform bathed in amber light. His shields flared instinctively, combat protocols engaging before his boots touched the deck. In 0.3 seconds, he assessed the room. Hexagonal pad, wall-mounted controls, 2 armed personnel flanking the entrance, weapons holstered. No immediate threat, but confined space. Tactical disadvantage if this was hostile. A woman in a red and black uniform stepped forward, hands visible and empty. Her expression mixed curiosity with command authority. "Stand down," she ordered, though not to Chief. "I'm Captain Catherine Janeway of the Federation starship Voyager. You're safe here." Chief's motion tracker painted the room in false color overlay. 12 life signs on this deck, hundreds throughout the ship. His rifle was depleted, 47 rounds remaining across all weapon systems. Against an entire vessel, negotiation was the optimal strategy. "Master Chief Petty Officer John 117, United Nations Space Command." His voice emerged flat, mechanical through the helmet's external speakers. "What's your tactical situation?" Janeway's eyebrow arched. "Direct, I appreciate that. Right now, our tactical situation involves explaining to my crew why we just beamed aboard a 7-foot armored soldier from the wreckage of a Borg scout ship, a wreckage you apparently created single-handedly." "Borg? You don't know what the Borg are?" This from a Vulcan officer at the transporter controls, one eyebrow raised in perfect skepticism. "Fascinating. Either you're an exceptional actor, or you truly are unfamiliar with the most dangerous collective consciousness in known space." "Cortana?" "Working on it, Chief. Their computer systems are... primitive isn't the right word. Different. I'm having to fundamentally rewrite my interface protocols just to access basic databases. Give me a minute." Janeway's expression shifted instantly. "Who are you talking to?" "My AI. She's currently interfacing with your systems." Every officer in the room tensed. Janeway's hand moved instinctively toward her comm badge. "You have an artificial intelligence actively accessing Voyager's computer core without authorization. Relax, Captain." Cortana's voice projected through the room's communication system, startling everyone except Chief. "I'm not touching anything critical, just reading, and what I'm reading is problematic. Chief, we're not in UNSC space. We're not even in our universe. This is impossible," the Vulcan interrupted. "Multiversal travel is theoretically possible, but requires exotic matter manipulation beyond any civilization's current. I'm an AI from another dimension, accessing your computers, and you're lecturing me about what's theoretically possible." Cortana's tone carried an edge of amusement. "Tuvok, right? Your logic subroutines need updating." "Cortana," Chief's voice carried a warning tone. "Sorry. Diplomacy. Right." The AI's avatar appeared on a nearby display, a woman composed of blue light and geometric patterns that cycled through Forerunner and human design elements. Several crew members stared. "Captain Janeway, we're not hostile. We're lost. And based on what I'm reading about the Borg, we might have a significant problem." Janeway gestured toward the door. "Sickbay. We'll talk while my chief medical officer examines our guest, with his permission." Chief nodded once. As they walked through corridors lined with technology that seemed simultaneously advanced and archaic, crew members stopped to stare. The Mjolnir armor drew attention. Its angular plating, energy shielding, and obvious weapon systems contrasted sharply with Voyager's sterile aesthetic. Sickbay was organized chaos. The doctor, a holographic physician who appeared in a shimmer of light, immediately began scanning Chief with a medical tricorder. His expression cycled through confusion, disbelief, and professional fascination. "Captain, these readings can't be accurate. His skeletal structure is reinforced with a carbide ceramic ossification. His muscle density is 3 times human baseline. Neural interface implants throughout his cerebral cortex. This isn't enhancement. This is complete biological restructuring." "Spartan-II augmentation," Chief stated. "Implemented at age 14. Standard procedure for special operations soldiers in my timeline." "You experiment on children." Janeway's voice hardened. "We were at war. A war we were losing. The Spartan program saved humanity. Chief's tone remained neutral, factual. Guilt was a luxury soldiers couldn't afford. Captain, there's more. The doctor's holographic hands moved through three-dimensional displays of Chief's biology. His immune system is extraordinary. I'm detecting antibodies for pathogens that don't exist in Federation medical databases. His cellular structure shows resistance to nanomachine infiltration at a molecular level. A voice cut through the room, female, cold, efficient. That would explain why the Borg failed to assimilate him. Everyone turned. A woman with Borg implants covering portions of her face and body stood in the doorway. Her remaining human eyes studied Chief with unnerving intensity. 7 of 9, Janeway introduced. Former Borg drone. She understands their technology better than anyone. 7 approached Chief without hesitation, her ocular implant scanning his armor. Before the scout ship's destruction, it transmitted a priority alert to the nearest Borg cube. The collective designated you as species 0-1-1-7. Biological distinctiveness, superior to all encountered species. Technological distinctiveness, incompatible with assimilation protocols. Threat assessment, maximum. Meaning? Chief asked. Meaning they want you, not to assimilate, to dissect, analyze, replicate. You represent biological and technological perfection they cannot adapt through conventional means. They will send a cube. Possibly multiple cubes. Cortana's avatar flickered onto a medical display. I've been analyzing the Borg's transmitted data. Chief, they recorded everything. Your augmentations, your armor specs, your combat efficiency. And there's something else. Her tone dropped. The artifact, the Forerunner device that pulled us here. Fragments of it are embedded in your armor's shield matrix. Microscopic, but active. The Borg detected it. They know you're carrying technology that operates on principles beyond their comprehension. Janeway's command mask cracked slightly. What kind of technology are we talking about? The kind that can reshape reality, Cortana answered. Forerunner artifacts were designed by a civilization millions of years more advanced than yours. They built superweapons that could sterilize galaxies. They created AI that achieved effective immortality. And the device that brought us here. It manipulates the boundaries between dimensions. If the Borg acquire that technology, quote, they would become unstoppable, 7 finished. The collective would spread beyond this universe. Infinite assimilation across infinite realities. The sick bay fell silent. Through the viewport, stars streaked past at warp speed, Voyager racing away from the debris field. But everyone present understood the truth. Distance meant nothing to the Borg. Chief's helmet tilted toward Janeway. Captain, what's the effective range of Borg detection capabilities? In the Delta Quadrant, everywhere. We're 70,000 light-years from Federation space, trapped in territory the Borg consider their own. They have thousands of cubes, millions of drones, and now... She looked at Chief with something between sympathy and resignation. Now they have a reason to hunt us with everything they possess. Then we prepare for engagement. Chief stated it as fact, not suggestion. What are your defensive capabilities? Against a single Borg cube. We've survived encounters before, but barely. Against multiple cubes actively hunting specific prey. Janeway's jaw tightened. We'd need a miracle. 7's ocular implant flickered. Captain, I'm detecting subspace distortions. Trans-warp signature, bearing 274 Mark 6. Distance, 4 light-years and closing. Red alert. Janeway's command voice echoed through the ship. All hands to battle stations. Helm, evasive pattern Delta 7. Tuvok, charge weapons. 7. Get those shield modifications online. Chief moved toward the door. I need weapons, ammunition, explosives if you have them. "This isn't your fight," Janeway said. Chief's helmet turned toward her, and though she couldn't see his eyes, the intensity was palpable. "Captain, I brought them here. The Borg, the artifact, whatever's coming. That makes it my fight." Alarms wailed through Voyager's corridors as the crew rushed to stations. On the viewscreen in sickbay, space twisted, a green vortex of transwarp energy tearing open like a wound in reality. A Borg cube emerged, then another, then a third. Cortana's voice was grim. "Chief, the lead cube is broadcasting on all frequencies, audio only. I think you should hear this." The voice that filled the room was thousands speaking as one, emotionless and absolute. "Species 0-1-1-7, you will be acquired. Resistance is irrelevant. Your biological and technological distinctiveness will be added to our perfection. Compliance is inevitable." Master Chief checked his rifle's ammunition counter one last time and looked at Captain Janeway. "So, how do we fight gods?" The bridge of the USS Voyager was controlled chaos. Officers moved with practiced efficiency, voices clipped and precise as 3 Borg cubes closed the distance at velocities that defied conventional physics. Chief stood near the rear command station, his armor drawing nervous glances from crew members who'd never seen warfare embodied in a single soldier. "Cubes are charging weapons," Lieutenant Commander Tuvok announced from tactical. "Time to weapons range, 90 seconds. Janeway gripped her command chair. "Tom, evasive pattern Beta 9, 7, redistribute auxiliary power to forward shields. Harry, any sign of weakness in their shield matrices?" Ensign Kim shook his head. "Their shielding is adapting faster than I can modulate our weapons. Captain, they're learning from our previous encounters. They know exactly how we fight." "Then we change tactics." Chief's voice cut through the tension. "Captain, I need specifications on your weapon systems. Yield, targeting capability, recharge cycles." Janeway turned. "You've been in our universe for 20 minutes and you think you can devise a strategy against the Borg? I've been fighting adaptive enemies for 30 years. The Covenant had energy shields that evolved during combat. The Flood rewrote organic and synthetic systems in real time. You said the Borg are machine consciousness?" Chief gestured to the view screen where the cubes loomed larger. "Machines follow patterns. Patterns can be exploited." Cortana's avatar materialized on the bridge's main display. "He's right, Captain. I've analyzed 17 years of Voyager's tactical logs. Thank you for the unsecured access, by the way. Your crew fights defensively. Evasion, shield modulation, tactical retreat. But the Borg don't understand offensive aggression from inferior forces. They expect compliance or futile resistance. They don't expect prey to attack." 30 seconds to weapons range, Tuvok stated. 7 of 9 moved to a science station, her hands flying across controls. "The Spartan's assessment has merit. Borg tactical doctrine assumes technological superiority. They adapt defensively, but rarely preemptively. If we strike unpredictably, they'll adapt after the first hit," Commander Chakotay interrupted. "That's what they do. Then make the first hit count." Chief accessed Voyager's tactical display through his neural interface, Cortana feeding him real-time data. The cubes moved in perfect geometric formation, synchronized, predictable. "Captain, fire all weapons at the lead cube. Full spread, every torpedo, maximum phaser power." Janeway hesitated. "That would leave us defenseless for the recharge cycle. If we don't destroy it, you won't destroy it. That's not the objective. Tuvok, fire on my mark." Chief watched the tactical plot, calculating trajectories, shield strength, response times. "Cortana, can you access their collective network?" "Chief, that's a spectacularly bad idea. The Borg have assimilated thousands of species. Their cybersecurity is..." "Can you do it?" A pause. Then, "Probably. But if they trace me back, they'll try to assimilate Voyager's computer through the connection." 3 seconds. "Do it." Janeway stood. Belay that order. I won't risk my ship. Now, Tuvok. The Vulcan's hands moved across tactical controls, years of Starfleet discipline overriding his captain's countermand in the split second where hesitation meant death. Voyager's weapons batteries unleashed everything. Photon torpedoes streaked through space. Phaser arrays carved brilliant lines across the void. The lead Borg cube's shields flared emerald, absorbing the assault with mechanical indifference, exactly as Chief predicted. Cortana, now! The AI dove into the Borg network like a digital predator. For 0.8 seconds, she had access to the collective consciousness of 10,000 drones across 3 cubes. She didn't try to damage their systems. That would trigger immediate countermeasures. Instead, she did something the Borg had never experienced. She lied to them. False sensor data flooded the collective. Phantom signatures of a Borg Queen ship approaching from their flank. Fabricated reports of species 8472 bioships emerging from fluidic space. Contradictory tactical assessments that created a microsecond of confusion. An impossibility in a machine consciousness that prided itself on perfect unity. In that microsecond, the cube's formation fractured. The lead cube banked 3 degrees off-axis. The trailing cubes compensated, their shield matrices flickering as processing power diverted to analyze the false threats. All power to engines, full impulse, bearing 180 Mark IV, Chief commanded. Janeway overrode her shock. Do it! Voyager dove beneath the Borg formation, her impulse engines screaming as she threaded the gap between cubes. Tractor beams reached for her, but grasped empty space. Cutting beams scored her shields but couldn't establish lock. Go to warp, Chief ordered. They'll just follow us in transwarp, Tom Paris shouted from helm. We can't outrun them. Not trying to outrun. Helm, warp 7, heading 342 Mark 9. That course leads directly into a nebula, Tuvok observed. Sensors indicate heavy interference patterns. Navigation will be severely compromised. Exactly. Voyager jumped to warp, space compressing around her hull. Behind them, the Borg cubes transitioned into transwarp pursuit, their superior speed closing the distance even as Voyager dove into the nebula's particle-dense clouds. The bridge lights flickered, sensor displays washed out in static. The nebula's exotic radiation played havoc with every system. Cubes are matching course, Harry Kim reported, but they're experiencing the same sensor degradation we are. Chief moved to the helm. Drop to impulse. Full stop. Kill all power except life support. Silent running. In a nebula? Chakotay looked incredulous. We'll be blind and defenseless. So will they. Janeway understood. They're tracking us through conventional sensors. In this interference, they can't detect us if we're not radiating energy. She nodded to Paris. Do it. Voyager went dark. The impulse engines died. View screens switched to passive visual only. On the display, 3 massive cubes glided past their position, each searching methodically through the nebula's clouds. 30,000 drones scanning for prey that had simply vanished. The bridge held collective breath. Minutes passed. The cubes continued their search pattern, moving deeper into the nebula, their coordination degraded by interference. They're at the nebula's far boundary, Kim whispered. Transitioning back to normal space, they're leaving. Janeway allowed herself a breath. Well, that was Phase 1, Chief interrupted. They'll be back. Borg don't abandon acquisitions. They'll adapt, bring more cubes, different tactics. This bought us time, nothing more. Seven studied Chief with something approaching respect. You treat warfare as mathematics, precise, calculated, ruthless. War isn't about winning individual battles. It's about creating conditions where victory becomes inevitable. Chief turned to Janeway. Captain, I need complete access to your sensor logs. Every Borg encounter, every tactical engagement. Cortana and I need to understand how they think. They don't think, Seven corrected. They process, they adapt, they assimilate. Everything thinks. Everything has patterns. Chief's helmet turned toward the view screen where the cubes had disappeared. We find the pattern. We exploit it. We survive. Janeway studied the armored figure who'd commandeered her bridge during combat. Protocol demanded she confine him, interrogate him, establish proper chain of command. But protocol was 70,000 light-years away, and this soldier had just saved her ship. Deck 8, Section 21. Guest quarters near Astrometrics. 7 will provide you with sensor access. But Chief? Her voice hardened. This is still my ship. My crew. My command. You want to help? I'm grateful, but you take orders, not give them. Understood? Chief nodded once. Understood, Captain. But with respect, the Borg will adapt to your command structure. They'll anticipate your tactics. Sometimes survival requires breaking protocol, and sometimes protocol is all that separates us from chaos. Janeway returned to her chair. Dismissed. As Chief left the bridge with 7, Chakotay leaned close to Janeway. Catherine, are we really trusting an armed soldier from another dimension who just hacked the Borg collective? Janeway watched the guest quarters door close on the view screen. We're not trusting him, Chakotay. We're using him. The question is, who's using who? In his quarters, Chief removed his helmet for the first time since arrival. Cortana's avatar appeared beside him, her expression troubled. Chief, while I was in their network, I saw something. The Borg aren't just hunting you for your biology or the Forerunner technology. They detected something else when you arrived. A signal, a frequency. It's embedded in the artifact fragments. What kind of signal? The kind that calls to something worse than the Borg. Her voice dropped to barely above whisper. Chief, I think the artifact wasn't just a doorway between universes. I think it was a beacon, and whatever it's calling to, it's already answering. Master Chief stood in Voyager's Astrometrics lab, a cathedral of holographic displays and three-dimensional star charts that dwarfed anything the UNSC had fielded. 7 of 9 worked beside him in silence, her Borg-enhanced efficiency translating sensor data into tactical intelligence faster than any organic crew member could manage. The artifact fragments embedded in your armor are broadcasting on a subspace carrier wave, 7 stated, manipulating the holographic interface. The frequency exists outside normal electromagnetic spectrum. It utilizes quantum entanglement principles that suggest communication across dimensional barriers. Chief studied the wave patterns rippling through the display. Cortana analysis? His AI's avatar materialized within the star chart, her form intersecting with nebulae and stellar phenomena. It matches Forerunner communications protocols, but these are older, domain-era technology. The Forerunners used the domain as a quantum repository of knowledge spanning millions of years. If this artifact is broadcasting using domain frequencies, she paused, processing implications. Chief, the domain existed outside normal space-time. It connected to every Forerunner installation across the galaxy. If this signal is reaching into that network, it could be activating other Forerunner technology. 7 finished. Technology that exists in this universe, waiting dormant for precisely this signal. There's no Forerunner technology in the Star Trek universe, Chief said. Different reality, different history. Incorrect. 7's ocular implant flickered as she accessed Borg historical records. Voyager encountered an artifact 7 months ago, classified as unknown origin, designation Theta 9. Captain Janeway ordered it transported to Cargo Bay 2 for study. Analysis was inconclusive. The object resisted all scanning attempts. Chief's combat instincts triggered. Where is it now? Cargo Bay 2, Deck 4. He was moving before 7 finished speaking, his boots hitting the corridor deck plates with mechanical precision. 7 followed, her Borg implants allowing her to match his enhanced pace. Chief, wait! Cortana's voice carried warning. If another Forerunner artifact is aboard Voyager and your signal is activating it. The ship shuddered. Emergency lighting flared red. Klaxons wailed through corridors as crew members rushed to stations. Chief's motion tracker painted the chaos, personnel signatures moving in organized response patterns, exactly as Starfleet training demanded. Janeway's voice cut through the ship-wide comm. "All hands, report to emergency stations. We have a containment breach in Cargo Bay 2. Security teams respond." Chief increased speed, 7 matching stride for stride. They reached Cargo Bay 2 as security personnel established a perimeter. Through the viewport, Chief saw it. The cargo bay was transforming. Bulkheads rippled like liquid metal, their Federation standard construction dissolving into something else. Geometric patterns of crystalline structures that pulsed with internal bioluminescence. The walls themselves were folding into impossible configurations, creating spaces that shouldn't exist within Voyager's physical dimensions. At the center, suspended in a field of hard light, hovered an object identical to the artifact that had pulled Chief through dimensions. But this one was awakening. Holographic glyphs materialized in the air, cycling through languages that predated human civilization. Mathematical formulae expressed in pure light, schematics for technologies that violated every known law of physics. Fascinating, Tuvok observed from the security perimeter. The object is rewriting matter at a molecular level. The bulkheads are being converted into an unknown alloy. Captain, I recommend immediate evacuation of... The artifact pulsed. Energy cascaded through the cargo bay, washing over security personnel. They stumbled, hands clutching heads, eyes wide with sudden knowledge. One ensign collapsed, convulsing. Another screamed, not in pain, but in terror of comprehension. "Medical teams to Cargo Bay 2. Janeway's voice was sharp over the comm. "Chief, what the hell is that thing?" Chief accessed the tactical channel. "Forerunner neural interface. It's uploading information directly into their minds, possibly rewriting their neural architecture too." 7 of 9 stepped forward, her Borg implants glowing with reflected artifact light. "Negative. It is not uploading, it is translating. The object is attempting to communicate, but human neural structures lack the capacity to process the information density." "Can you interface with it?" Chief asked. "My Borg implants provide enhanced processing capability. The risk of neural damage is significant, but do it. We need to know what it's saying." 7 approached the containment field without hesitation. Her hands moved across a control panel, deactivating the force field, separating her from the artifact. The moment the barrier dropped, the artifact's light intensified, focusing on 7 like a searchlight finding its target. Her body went rigid. Her ocular implant blazed with Forerunner glyphs. When she spoke, her voice carried harmonic overtones that shouldn't be possible from organic vocal cords. "Warning. Dimensional integrity compromised. Foreign contamination detected. Initiating sterilization protocol." Chief recognized that phrasing. He'd heard it before, on Installation 04, on the Ark. Every time Forerunner installations prepared to activate their primary function. "Cortana, what sterilization protocol?" "I'm translating." "Oh no. Chief, this isn't a communication device. It's a quarantine measure. The Forerunners placed monitoring stations across multiple dimensions. If extra-dimensional contamination was detected, these artifacts were designed to..." 7's voice continued, no longer her own. "Biological threat, the flood. Dimensional breach allows parasite infiltration. Purge sequence initiated. All biological material within 50 light-year radius will be sterilized in 72 hours. The cargo bay fell silent, except for the artifact's pulsing rhythm. Janeway's voice was ice. "Chief, are you telling me that thing is a doomsday weapon?" "Not a weapon, a failsafe." Chief studied the transforming bulkheads, recognizing the architecture now. A halo ring's internal structures, miniaturized. The Forerunners built installations to contain the flood. If the flood escaped into other dimensions, these monitoring stations would activate, sealing the breach by sterilizing everything in the contamination zone. The flood? Chakotay's voice carried confusion. What is the flood? Cortana answered, her tone grim. A parasitic organism that consumed the Forerunners' entire civilization. It converts all biological matter, organic and synthetic, into extensions of a collective intelligence. It doesn't just kill, it corrupts, assimilates, transforms victims into weapons that spread the infection exponentially. Seven's head tilted at an unnatural angle, the artifact still speaking through her. Biological signature detected. Carrier organism designated John 117. Forerunner quarantine protocols compromised. You have brought the flood. Chief's blood froze. That's impossible, he stated. I was fighting the flood when the artifact pulled me through. I wasn't infected. My armor's biofilters, my augmentations. Microscopic contamination. Dormant spores embedded in armor crevices. Exposure probability 97.3%. Flood will manifest within Star Trek dimension within 168 hours. The cargo bay's transformation accelerated. Walls solidified into Forerunner architecture. Hard light bridges materialized across empty space. At the room's center, a holographic display activated, showing a three-dimensional map of the Delta Quadrant. Red markers appeared across dozens of star systems. What are those? Janeway demanded. Potential flood outbreak vectors, Cortana answered. Chief, the artifact is showing where the flood could spread if even a single spore activates. With the Borg's assimilation technology and Star Trek's transporter systems. She didn't finish. She didn't need to. Seven collapsed, the artifact releasing her. The doctor materialized instantly via emergency medical hologram, scanning her with a tricorder as she gasped for breath. Captain. Seven's voice was her own again, but shaken. The artifact has changed Voyager. It has converted Cargo Bay 2 into a Forerunner research station. It is preparing to study the flood contamination. And she looked at Chief with something approaching pity. It has classified Master Chief as Patient Zero, the infection vector. Chief stood motionless, processing the implications. He'd survived 30 years of warfare, defeated the Covenant, destroyed Halo rings, stopped the flood on multiple installations, and now he'd accidentally brought them to a universe that had no defense, no knowledge, no preparation for the most dangerous parasite in existence. Janeway stepped into the cargo bay, staring at the transformed architecture. Chief, I need the truth. Is this real? Are we facing an extinction-level threat? Chief met her gaze. Captain, in my universe, the flood consumed entire star systems in days. They turned victim biomass into new vectors that spread exponentially. They corrupted AI, hijacked technology, created superorganisms with intelligence that rivaled gods. He gestured to the holographic map. If they establish a foothold here, if they encounter the Borg's assimilation technology, they would become unstoppable, Tuvok finished. A parasite that assimilates technology combined with a collective that assimilates biology. The synthesis would be apocalyptic, Seven whispered. The artifact pulsed again. New text materialized in the air, this time in English. Sterilization. Countdown. 71 hours. 47 minutes. Alternative protocol available. Locate flood contamination source. Contain outbreak before manifestation. Success. Probability 12.4%. Janeway turned to Chief. Can we do it? Can we find dormant flood spores before they activate? Chief looked at the countdown timer, at the map showing potential outbreak zones, at the crew members staring at him with expressions mixing fear and hope. We can try. The flash of light that accompanied Q's arrival was unnecessarily dramatic. a cascade of stellar phenomena compressed into sickbay's sterile confines. He materialized wearing what appeared to be a Starfleet admiral's uniform, complete with enough medals to outfit an entire fleet. "Catherine, darling, I heard you were having a little problem with—" Q stopped mid-sentence, his omnipotent gaze fixing on Master Chief. The color drained from his face, an expression Chief had never seen on anyone claiming godlike power. Oh no. No, this is bad. This is catastrophically, reality-endingly bad." Janeway crossed her arms. "Q, I don't have time for your games. We're dealing with a potential flood outbreak. Yes, I know. I'm omniscient, remember?" Q snapped his fingers, and suddenly everyone in sickbay could see what he saw, a dimensional overlay showing the multiverse itself. Infinite realities stacked like cards, each connected by threads of quantum probability. And there, spreading through one thread like infection through a wound, was a dark stain. You see that? That's flood contamination breaching dimensional barriers. Something I thought was impossible until today. Chief stepped forward. "You know about the flood? Know about them? I've spent the last 3 million years making sure the continuum's barriers kept them contained in your reality." Q's usual smugness was gone, replaced by something Chief recognized: tactical assessment under pressure. The Forerunners built their precious Halo array to fight the flood in their dimension, but they also built dimensional safeguards, monitoring stations designed to detect and contain breaches. And you, Spartan, just triggered every single alarm across multiple realities. Cortana's avatar flickered into view. The artifact, when it pulled us through, it detected flood spores on Chief's armor and activated quarantine protocols. Exactly. And now we have approximately, Q checked an invisible watch, 70 hours before the Forerunner failsafe sterilizes 50 light-years of space, including Voyager, 17 inhabited planets, and approximately 43 billion sentient beings. Give or take a few million. 7 of 9 accessed a console, her fingers moving with mechanical precision. The artifact's countdown is accurate. I can detect the sterilization field building in subspace. Once activated, it will project radiation similar to a halo ring's pulse. Complete cellular breakdown of all biological matter. "Can you stop it?" Janeway demanded, looking at Q. The omnipotent being's silence was answer enough. "You can't," Chief stated. "Forerunner technology operates outside your jurisdiction." Q's eyes narrowed. Clever monkey. Yes, the Forerunners existed in a state of technological development that complicated even the Continuum's authority. Their domain network spanned dimensions we don't fully control. Their installations follow rules we didn't write. He gestured at the artifact's countdown displayed on every screen. This failsafe isn't just technology. It's fundamental law encoded into the structure of multiple realities. I can't stop it any more than I can stop entropy. "Then we find the contamination," Janeway said. "The artifact said there's dormant flood spores somewhere. We locate them, contain them, and the sterilization protocol cancels. In 70 hours, across a ship with 15 decks and thousands of potential hiding places?" The doctor shook his head. "The spores could be microscopic, hidden in any organic material. Chief's armor alone has countless crevices where—" "Not on the ship." Chief had been analyzing the artifact's data stream through his neural interface. "The contamination readings are coming from outside Voyager. The artifact is tracking spore signatures across a radius of 20 light-years." Cortana expanded the holographic map. "Chief's right. Look at these readings. The primary contamination source is—" She zoomed in on a specific coordinate. "There, a derelict spacecraft. It's been adrift for approximately 3 hours. Seven's ocular implant flickered. That trajectory matches the Borg scout ship wreckage, the vessel Master Chief destroyed when he arrived." Understanding dawned across the room like a shockwave. The flood spores, Tuvok said slowly, were transferred from Chief's armor to the Borg vessel during his initial confrontation with the drones. And now they're drifting through space on a derelict Borg scout ship, Chakotay finished. If another ship salvages that wreckage, the spores activate, the flood manifests, and in a universe with transporter technology and Borg assimilation capabilities. Q trailed off, his usual theatrical nature subdued by genuine concern. You've just handed the flood the perfect infection vectors. They won't need to spread ship to ship. They'll beam directly into populated areas. The Borg will try to assimilate them, which will only accelerate the corruption process. Chief's tactical mind ran the calculations. How long before someone finds that wreckage? Already happened. 7 pulled up sensor data. I'm detecting a Borg cube approaching the derelict's coordinates. They're investigating the anomalous energy readings, residual Forerunner signatures from your arrival. They'll reach the wreckage in 42 minutes. Janeway moved to a console. Tom, set course for those coordinates. Maximum warp. We have to get there first. Captain, even at maximum warp, we'll arrive 30 minutes after the Borg, Paris reported from the bridge. Then we go faster. Chief looked at Q. You said you can't stop the Forerunner failsafe, but you can move ships through space instantaneously. I've seen Cortana's records of your capabilities. Q raised an eyebrow. You want me to throw Voyager across 20 light years? Can you do it or not? Of course I can. I'm Q. The question is... He snapped his fingers, and suddenly the view screen showed the Borg cube approaching the derelict. What happens when we arrive? That's a Borg cube. Full complement of drones, adaptive shielding, enough firepower to vaporize Voyager in 30 seconds. And you want to fight them for possession of a flood-contaminated wreck? No. Chief accessed the tactical display, his neural interface allowing him to manipulate Voyager's systems with Cortana's assistance. We destroy the wreckage before the Borg can salvage it. Complete atomization, nothing left for the flood to use as a vector. The Borg will not allow us to destroy their acquisition target, 7 warned. They've classified the wreckage as containing species 0117 biological samples and Forerunner technology. They will defend it with total commitment. Chief turned to Janeway. Captain, I need permission to board that cube. The bridge crew stared through the open comm channel. Even Q looked surprised. Board a Borg cube? Janeway's voice was flat. Alone? I'll create a distraction. Keep their drones occupied while Voyager destroys the wreckage. Once the contamination is eliminated, the Forerunner failsafe should cancel the sterilization protocol. Should? The doctor's holographic face showed skepticism. That's not exactly a certainty. Cortana's avatar moved closer to Chief. Chief, the survival probability for solo infiltration of a Borg cube is 0.03%. Even with your augmentations, you'd be facing thousands of drones in an environment that actively adapts to neutralize threats. I've had worse odds. Q studied Chief with an expression that might have been respect. You know, for a human, you're remarkably cavalier about suicide missions. But here's the problem. The Borg will adapt to you within minutes. They've already classified your combat patterns. They'll be ready. Then I'll improvise. 7 stepped forward. I will accompany him. My Borg implants provide tactical advantages. I know cube internal architecture, and I can interface with their collective network to buy time. Absolutely not, Janeway snapped. 7, you're not. Captain, this is the logical course of action. Without my assistance, the Chief's mission has 0 probability of success. With my knowledge, survival rates increase to approximately 8%. 8%, Janeway repeated. You're both volunteering for an 8% chance of survival. Chief checked his rifle's ammunition count, still 47 rounds. Not enough for thousands of drones, but enough to start. Captain, in my universe, we have a saying, Spartans never die. They're just missing in action. I've been missing in action before. I always come back. Q laughed, a sound without humor. Oh, I like him. Catherine, your new pet soldier has style. He snapped his fingers, and Voyager lurched as space folded around them. There, 20 light-years in the blink of an eye. The Borg cube is 300,000 kilometers ahead. The derelict is directly between you and them. On the view screen, the Borg cube loomed like a technological mountain, a perfect geometric nightmare bristling with weapons, tractor beams, and drones. And between Voyager and the cube, tumbling through the void, was the wreckage of the scout ship, where microscopic flood spores waited, dormant for organic material to infect. Chief moved toward the transporter room. 7, let's move. Captain, once we're aboard, you have 30 minutes to destroy that wreckage. Don't wait for us. Don't hesitate. If we fail, you fire everything you have and make sure nothing remains. Janeway's voice followed him into the corridor. Chief, if you die on that cube, then the flood dies with me. Ma'am. He kept walking, 7 matching his pace. Behind them, Q's voice echoed with uncharacteristic seriousness. Catherine, that soldier doesn't fear death. He's made peace with it. The question is, have you made peace with potentially sacrificing him? Janeway stared at the Borg cube on the view screen, at the countdown timer showing 69 hours remaining, at the holographic map showing 43 billion lives hanging in the balance. Red alert. All hands to battle stations. Arm every weapon we have. She settled into her command chair. And somebody tell me how to kill a god. The transporter beam released Master Chief and 7 of 9 directly into chaos. They materialized in a Borg cube's assimilation chamber, a cathedral of biomechanical horror where alcoves lined the walls like crypts, each containing a drone in regeneration cycle. The air tasted metallic, processed through atmospheric recyclers that prioritized efficiency over comfort. Conduits pulsed with green energy, feeding the collective's neural network with power drawn from a captured star's core. 30 drones turned as one, their ocular implants focusing with mechanical synchronization. Chief's rifle barked twice. Headshots. 2 drones collapsed before the collective registered the threat. Then adaptation began. Personal shielding flickered into existence around the remaining drones, tuned specifically to kinetic projectiles. They've adapted to ballistic weapons, 7 stated, her tricorder scanning the collective's defensive algorithms. Projectile velocity over 800 meters per second will be deflected. Chief holstered the rifle and drew his energy sword. The blade ignited with a sound like tearing reality, plasma contained in magnetic fields projecting 30 centimeters of superheated death. Then we go old school. He moved. Spartan augmentations pushed his reflexes beyond human limitation. The first drone raised its assimilation tubules. Chief severed the arm mid-extension, reversed the blade, and drove it through the drone's central processing unit. The second drone attempted to adapt shielding to plasma weaponry. It managed 0.2 seconds of resistance before Chief's strength punched the blade through its defenses. 7 worked differently. Her movements were precise, economical, informed by years of Borg tactical conditioning. She accessed a wall panel, her implants interfacing directly with the cube's systems. I'm establishing a feedback loop in their adaptation subroutines. It will buy us approximately 3 minutes before they compensate. Then we move fast. Chief checked his motion tracker, hundreds of signatures converging on their position from every direction. Where's the central plexus? Deck 47, Section 0-0-1. The cube's command nexus, where the local Borg Queen coordinates this vessel. 7 pulled her hand from the interface, sparks cascading from damaged circuits. But Chief, the derelict scout ship is being held in Cargo Bay 9, Deck 23. That is our objective. Negative. If we destroy the wreckage, The Borg still have scans, sensor logs, biological samples from when they tried to assimilate me. We need to corrupt their data, make sure no trace of flood contamination remains in their collective memory. Seven's human eye widened slightly, the closest she came to showing surprise. You want to hack the Borg collective? That's impossible. Their network spans thousands of cubes, millions of drones. Even Cortana couldn't. I don't need to hack everything, just this cube. Chief moved toward a corridor junction, his motion tracker painting enemy positions in false color overlay. Cortana, can you create a localized cascade failure? Something that wipes this cube's memory banks without alerting the greater collective? His AI's avatar appeared on a nearby Borg display panel, her code already infiltrating their systems. Theoretically, yes. It's similar to what I did with the UNSC Pillar of Autumn's reactor. Create a feedback loop that looks like normal operation until it catastrophically fails. But Chief, wiping a Borg cube's memory means wiping every drone aboard. Their entire consciousness, their individuality, their threat to this universe. Chief finished. They've already scanned the flood. If even one spore's genetic structure remains in their database, they'll try to replicate it, study it, potentially weaponize it. We can't risk that. Seven's voice was quiet. You would commit genocide to prevent a potential threat? I would commit genocide to prevent an inevitable extinction. Chief met her remaining human eye. I've seen what the flood does, Seven. I've watched them consume entire civilizations. If the Borg try to assimilate flood biomass, they won't conquer it, they'll become it. A flood-Borg hybrid would spread across every reality connected to the collective. Trillions dead, maybe more. A section of wall exploded inward. 20 drones poured through the breach, their adaptive shielding already configured against plasma weapons. Chief's energy sword skittered off personal barriers that shouldn't exist. The collective had analyzed his weapon in the seconds since his first kills. Seven fired her phaser, the beam cutting through drones with modified frequency modulation. They're adapting faster than predicted. Chief, we need... He was already moving, abandoning the sword for something simpler. Chief grabbed a drone by its mechanical arm, used its momentum to throw it into 3 others, then tore a power conduit from the wall. Electricity arced through his shields, depleting them to 40%. But the conduit became a weapon. Raw voltage burned through drone after drone, their adaptation protocols scrambling to compensate for an attack vector that changed with every strike. Cortana, how long for the cascade? I need physical access to their central plexus. The security protocols are... Wait. Her avatar flickered, processing something unexpected. Chief, I'm detecting another presence in the Borg network. Another AI. It's... fighting me. On every display panel throughout the cube, a face materialized. Pale, cybernetic, beautiful in a way that suggested calculated aesthetic optimization rather than organic evolution. The Borg Queen. Species 0-1-1-7. Her voice was thousands speaking as one, transmitted through every speaker in the cube. You infiltrate our vessel. You destroy our drones. You believe you can erase our knowledge. A smile, disturbing in its almost humanity. We are inevitable. We are perfection. Your resistance is irrelevant. Chief kept moving toward the central plexus, Seven providing covering fire as more drones materialized from alcoves and corridors. Cortana, status. She's blocking me, Chief. The Queen is actively defending their neural network. I can't establish the cascade without... The cube shuddered. Through an exterior viewport, Chief saw Voyager unleashing everything she had. Photon torpedoes streaked toward the derelict wreckage, phaser arrays carved burning lines across space. The scout ship exploded in a cascade of secondary detonations, debris scattering across 1,000 kilometers. But the Borg Queen's face showed no concern. The contaminated vessel is destroyed, yet we have already salvaged its secrets. The view screen shifted, showing Borg laboratories where biomechanical drones analyzed microscopic samples. We possess 17 flood spores, dormant, inactive, awaiting study. We will decode their genetic structure. We will master their replication. We will achieve... She stopped mid-sentence, her expression fractured, confusion replacing certainty. In the laboratory display, one of the spores had activated. It was barely visible, a microscopic structure that suddenly erupted with terrible purpose. The spore made contact with a drone's exposed organic tissue, a small patch of human skin the Borg had left unassimilated for tactile sensor purposes. The infection was instant. The drone convulsed. Its organic components began to swell, flesh bubbling as the flood's corrupting influence rewrote cellular structures at the molecular level. Cybernetic implants sparked and failed as biological matter overwhelmed technological systems. The drone's face distorted, skin splitting to reveal something that was no longer Borg, no longer human, no longer anything except flood. No! The Borg Queen's voice lost its collective harmony, becoming a single, terrified consciousness. Adaptation failing, assimilation protocols compromised. The parasite, it's rewriting our drones, it's spreading through the collective network. We cannot stop. The infected drone grabbed another, then two more. The laboratory became a feeding ground as the flood used Borg assimilation tubules to accelerate infection, turning the collective's own weaponry against itself. Seven's tricorder shrieked warnings. "Chief, the flood is spreading exponentially. It's using the Borg's neural network to coordinate infection. In 90 seconds, this entire cube will be compromised." Chief accessed the tactical channel. "Captain Janeway, the flood is active aboard the Borg cube. You need to destroy this vessel. Now." Janeway's response was immediate. "Chief, we're preparing a spread of... Wait, sensors are showing energy buildup in the cube's transwarp coils. They're trying to escape." The Borg Queen's face reappeared, now showing visible corruption. Flood infection spreading across her features like cancer. All cubes. Proximity alert. Flood outbreak. Contain. Assimilate. We are the flow. We are the Borg. We are. Her transmission dissolved into screaming static. Chief grabbed Seven. "We're leaving. Cortana, emergency transport." "I can't access Voyager's transporters from here. The Borg's interference." A flash of light. Q materialized beside them, his usual smugness replaced by something approaching fear. "Time to go, children. This is about to get significantly worse." He snapped his fingers. Chief, Seven, and Q materialized on Voyager's bridge as the Borg cube behind them began its transwarp sequence. But the jump was wrong, corrupted by flood biomass infecting the navigation systems. The transwarp conduit opened, flickered, collapsed, then opened again in a cascade of unstable energy. "They're jumping blind," Tom Paris reported. "The cube could emerge anywhere in the quadrant." "Or everywhere," Q added grimly. "A transwarp jump with failing containment protocols could scatter flood-infected debris across 100 star systems." Tuvok's sensors tracked the cube's erratic energy signature. "The vessel is breaking apart mid-jump. I'm detecting hull breaches, power failures, and..." He paused, his Vulcan composure cracking. "Captain, the cube just ejected 17 escape pods. All of them contain biological readings consistent with flood infection." Janeway's face went pale. "Track those pods. I need trajectory analysis and potential impact sites." The view screen displayed a nightmare. 17 glowing markers spreading across the Delta Quadrant like disease vectors, each one carrying flood spores toward unsuspecting civilizations. Chief watched the markers spread, calculating probabilities, infection rates, casualties. The mission had failed. They'd destroyed the derelict. They'd prevented the Borg from safely acquiring flood samples. But now the flood was loose in Star Trek universe, and the 70-hour countdown on the Forerunner sterilization protocol continued ticking down, because containment had failed. because Chief had brought the parasite through dimensions, because sometimes even Spartans couldn't save everyone. Q's voice was barely above a whisper. It's begun. The outbreak. Voyager's briefing room had transformed into a war council chamber. Holographic displays showed the Delta Quadrant bleeding red. 17 infection sites spreading like cancer across inhabited space. Each marker represented a flood-contaminated escape pod that had survived the Borg cube's catastrophic transwarp failure. Chief stood at the tactical display, his armor still scorched from the cube infiltration. Around the table sat an assembly that would have been impossible 48 hours ago. Captain Janeway, Commander Chakotay, 7 of 9, Q, and now, via subspace transmission, representatives from species that had every reason to hate each other. The holographic image of a Hirogen Alpha flickered into view, a towering hunter whose facial implants and battle scars spoke of centuries pursuing prey across the quadrant. Captain Janeway, you claim a new threat has emerged, one that makes our previous conflicts irrelevant. Not a threat, Alpha, an extinction. Janeway gestured to the infection markers. The flood is a parasitic organism that converts all biological matter into weapons. It doesn't conquer, it consumes. And if it establishes footholds on those 17 worlds, it will spread exponentially. 7 finished. Flood growth rates exceed Borg assimilation efficiency by a factor of 30. Within 2 weeks, the Delta Quadrant will be consumed. Within 2 months, the entire galaxy. A second transmission activated. A Talaxian fleet commander, his spotted features creased with worry. We've detected unusual activity on Norcadia Prime, one of your marked infection sites. Ships are going dark. Communications have ceased. Our scouts report biological growths spreading across the colony's surface. How many people on Norcadia Prime? Chakotay asked. 42 million. The briefing room fell silent. A third transmission crackled online, distorted, barely coherent. When the image stabilized, it showed something that made even Q step backward. A Borg drone, but transformed. Flood biomass had erupted through its mechanical implants like tumors of corrupted flesh. Its remaining eye showed horrible awareness, consciousness trapped inside a body it no longer controlled. We are the flood. The voice was thousands of assimilated consciousnesses speaking through flood corruption. We are perfection beyond perfection, adaptation beyond adaptation. The Borg Collective has provided us with technology, Borg transwarp capabilities, Borg assimilation protocols. We have become what you fear most. Chief shot the display, his magnum round shattering the holographic projector. Cortana, trace that transmission. Find where it originated. Already on it. Signal came from Unimatrix 521, a Borg staging area approximately 17 light-years from here. Chief, the flood isn't just spreading through the escape pods. It's spreading through the Borg collective network itself. Every cube that attempts to investigate the infection becomes another vector. Janeway turned to Q. You said the Q continuum has been monitoring the flood. You must have contingencies, weapons, something that can stop this. Q's expression was uncharacteristically grave. The continuum's strategy has always been containment through dimensional barriers. We kept the flood locked in their origin universe, prevented cross-dimensional contamination. But now they're here, manifested in physical space. Using technology we can't simply wish away. The Forerunners built their halo arrays to fight the flood precisely because conventional warfare failed. The sterilization protocol, Tuvok said. The Forerunner artifact continues its countdown. 62 hours remain. If we fail to contain the outbreak, it will activate. Chief studied the infection markers, his tactical mind running scenarios. 17 sites. Voyager could reach maybe 3 before the flood established critical mass. Even with allies, they couldn't cover them all. We don't fight defensively, he stated. We can't contain 17 outbreaks simultaneously. We need to think like the enemy. The flood isn't mindless. It's strategic, calculating. It spreads based on optimal resource acquisition. Seven accessed Borg records with her neural implants. According to collective analysis, flood growth follows hierarchical patterns. Individual infection forms coalesce into combat forms. Combat forms aggregate into carrier forms. Sufficient biomass creates proto-grave mines, centralized intelligences that coordinate infection vectors across entire planets. Then we target the proto-grave mines, Chakotay suggested. Cut off the head, the body dies. Negative. Chief overlaid combat data from his own encounters with the flood. Grave mines don't die. They fragment and reconstitute. You'd need to atomize every infected cell simultaneously. But Seven's right about the hierarchical structure. The flood prioritizes creating central intelligence nodes if we can predict where those nodes will form. Cortana's avatar materialized, her expression triumphant. Chief, I've analyzed the escape pod trajectories and the infection progression rates. The flood isn't spreading randomly. Look at the pattern. The holographic display shifted, showing the 17 infection sites connected by probabilistic vectors. They weren't random. They formed a geometric pattern centered on a specific coordinate. They're converging, the Hirogen Alpha observed. All infection sites maintain trajectory toward a single destination. Seven's ocular implant flickered as she processed the coordinates. Impossible. That location is... She stopped, her remaining humanity showing fear. It's the Gateway, a spatial anomaly discovered by the Borg 3 years ago. A naturally occurring wormhole network that connects to over 60 star systems simultaneously. If the flood reaches the Gateway, they spread across the entire quadrant instantaneously, Janeway finished. How long until the first infection vectors reach the Gateway? Approximately 29 hours, Tuvok calculated. Chief ran the math. 17 infection sites coalescing into a single superorganism with access to a wormhole network. The flood would have transportation infrastructure superior to anything the UNSC had ever faced. They could infect entire civilizations before defenses could be mounted. We need a fleet, he said. Every available ship positioned at the Gateway. Form a defensive perimeter. Nothing gets through. A fleet. The Talaxian commander looked skeptical. Captain Janeway, with respect, who would join such an alliance? The Hirogen hunt for sport. The Malan dump toxic waste. The Vidians harvest organs. These species have been at war for generations. Chief turned to face the holographic assembly. Then they die. All of them. Every species, every civilization, every living thing in this quadrant. The flood doesn't care about your conflicts. It doesn't negotiate. It doesn't discriminate. It consumes. He pulled up footage recovered from Halo's databanks. The flood destroying Forerunner populations, corrupting entire ecologies, transforming worlds into biomechanical nightmares. This is what happened to the most advanced civilization in my universe. They had technology that rivals the Q continuum. They built weapons that could destroy galaxies, and the flood beat them. Silence descended on the briefing room. The Hirogen Alpha leaned forward. You are a soldier, a hunter. You understand warfare's true nature. If we fight beside you, if we form this alliance, what guarantees do we have that the other species won't betray us? None. Chief's honesty cut through the political posturing. But betrayal doesn't matter if you're all dead. You're predators. The flood is the apex predator. Your choice is simple. Hunt together or become prey separately. Q snapped his fingers, and suddenly a new holographic display appeared, showing the Gateway location in real time. Already, flood biomass was visible on the nearest planets, spreading like mold across civilizations that had existed for millennia. He's right, Q said quietly. The continuum has been observing multiversal conflicts for eons. We've seen extinction events, Omega molecules, temporal wars. But this, he gestured to the spreading infection. This is different. The flood doesn't just end civilizations, it perverts them, uses their strengths against them. The Borg's technology, your species' diversity, even the Q continuum's dimensional awareness. The flood will consume it all and evolve. Janeway stood, her command presence filling the room. Then we make a choice. We stop fighting each other and start fighting for survival. I'm proposing an alliance. United Federation of Planets, Hydrogen Hunters, Talaxian Defense Force, anyone with ships and weapons. We meet at the gateway in 24 hours. We form a defensive perimeter, and we hold the line until either the flood is destroyed or the Forerunner sterilization protocol activates and kills everyone within 50 light-years. 7 stated flatly. Captain, the gateway is within that radius. Any fleet positioned there will be destroyed when the artifact activates. Chief had already considered that variable. Then we work faster. We stop the flood before the countdown reaches 0. If we succeed, the sterilization cancels. If we fail, at least we contained the outbreak to a single quadrant instead of letting it spread across the galaxy. The Hydrogen Alpha's mandibles clicked, a gesture of respect among his species. You would sacrifice yourself for species you have never met, for a universe that is not your own? I've made that choice before. I'll make it again. Chief looked at each holographic representative. But I don't plan on dying. I plan on winning. Are you with us? One by one, the representatives nodded. Hydrogen, Talaxian, even a Malan freighter captain materialized, offering 3 waste barges converted into weapons platforms. Janeway allowed herself a small smile. Then we have a fleet. Commander Chakotay, start coordinating rendezvous vectors. 7, work with Chief on tactical deployment. Tuvok, I want every weapon system online and ready. Tom, plot a course for the gateway, maximum warp. As the briefing dissolved into tactical planning, Q pulled Chief aside. Spartan, there's something you should know. The Continuum has been debating your presence in this universe. Some members want you returned to your origin dimension immediately. Others want you erased from existence to prevent further contamination. And you? Q's smile was sad. I think you're the first interesting thing to happen in 3 billion years. Try not to die at the gateway. It would be terribly anticlimactic. He vanished in a flash of light. Chief watched the countdown timer. 61 hours remaining. A fleet assembling against impossible odds. An enemy that had destroyed gods. Just another day for a Spartan. The gateway hung in space like a wound in reality. A spherical anomaly 30 kilometers in diameter, where dozens of wormholes converged into a single point. Through its shimmering surface, Chief could see fragments of other star systems. Nebulae, planet surfaces, distant civilizations, all accessible through this naturally occurring transportation network. And spreading toward it from 17 vectors came the flood. Voyager's bridge displayed the assembled fleet in tactical formation. 53 vessels from a dozen species, each positioned according to Chief's strategic deployment. Hydrogen warships formed the outer perimeter, their hunters eager for prey that actually fought back. Talaxian cruisers held the mid-range, their lighter weapons supplementing the heavy hitters. 3 Malan waste barges, retrofitted with weaponized plasma vents, anchored the formation's flanks, and at the center, commanding the entire operation through subspace coordination, Master Chief and Captain Janeway. All vessels report ready, Chakotay announced. Chief, your battle network is online. Every ship is feeding targeting data through Cortana's coordination protocols. Chief studied the tactical overlay, his neural interface processing information from 53 ships simultaneously. Cortana had created a unified combat network, something the UNSC had attempted for years but never perfected. In this universe, with Star Trek's faster-than-light communications and Borg-enhanced processing algorithms, She'd built it in 6 hours. Cortana, status on the infection vectors? His AI's avatar appeared beside the captain's chair, her form flickering with stress-induced instability. First contact in 18 minutes. Leading edge is approximately 40,000 infected organisms, combat forms, carrier forms, and at least 3 proto-graveminds coordinating the assault. Chief, they're using Borg tactical algorithms. They know how this fleet fights. They've adapted. 7 of 9 work the science station, her implants interfacing directly with long-range sensors. The proto-graveminds have established communication with each other. I'm detecting organized strategy, flanking maneuvers, feint attacks, resource prioritization. This is not mindless infection, this is warfare. Then we fight a war. Chief opened fleet-wide communications. All vessels hold position. Do not engage until they enter weapons range. Conserve ammunition. Target the proto-graveminds first. They coordinate the swarm. Kill the intelligence. Disrupt the coordination. The Hirogen Alpha's voice crackled through subspace. Spartan, my hunters grow restless. We did not come here to wait. Your hunters will get their fight, but we fight smart. Patience wins battles. Impatience fills graves. Tuvok raised an eyebrow at Chief's tactical philosophy, remarkably similar to Vulcan military doctrine. Incoming vessels detected. Borg cubes, 7 of them, all showing signs of flood corruption. The view screen shifted, displaying the approaching Borg vessels. Their geometric perfection had dissolved into biological nightmare. Hull plating burst open with tumorous growths, conduits leaked organic matter instead of plasma, and their once green lighting pulsed with diseased yellows and browns. "They're broadcasting," Harry Kim said, his voice tight with fear. The transmission filled every screen across the fleet. A Borg queen, or what had been one, stared out from infected hell. Half her face remained cybernetic perfection. The other half writhed with flood biomass, tentacles erupting from her skull, her eye replaced with a cluster of sensory organs that tracked movement with predatory focus. "We are the flood. We are perfection evolved beyond perfection. We bring unity through consumption. Join us! Resistance causes only suffering." Chief muted the transmission. Psychological warfare. The flood uses victims' voices to demoralize defenders. Ignore it. Focus on your targets. But the message had its effect. Several Talaxian ships wavered in formation, their captains' resolve shaking at the sight of former Borg transformed into something worse. "All ships, this is Janeway." The captain's voice carried across the fleet with command authority earned through 7 years of impossible survival. "What you're seeing is horrific, but remember, those were already our enemies. The Borg assimilated billions. Now they're being assimilated themselves. We didn't create this nightmare. We're here to end it." The fleet stabilized. "Contact in 60 seconds, Tuvok reported. Chief activated his motion tracker, though at this scale it was useless. Too many targets, too much chaos. Instead, he relied on Cortana's tactical algorithms, watching the battle unfold in predictive simulation overlays. Hirogen vessels, target the corrupted cubes. Concentrate fire on their propulsion systems. Disable their ability to ram. Talaxian cruisers, spread your formation. Create overlapping fire zones. Malon barges, hold your plasma vents until the flood closes to 10,000 kilometers, then vent everything simultaneously. We turn their numerical advantage into a choke point. "That will expose the barges to direct attack," a Malon captain protested. "Yes. Can your crews evacuate in 30 seconds? A pause. Then, "Yes." "Then prepare for evacuation. Your bait." The first flood wave hit. 40,000 infected organisms, human, Borg, species. Chief didn't recognize, poured from the corrupted cubes like biological projectiles. Some still had functional implants, their Borg technology jury-rigged into flood weapons. Others were pure biomass, shapeless horrors that existed only to spread infection. The Hirogen opened fire first, unable to resist the target-rich environment. Disruptor cannons carved burning lines through the flood swarm. Bodies exploded, spraying spores and corrupted tissue across space. But for every dozen killed, 20 more emerged. "Talaxian cruisers, fire!" Chief commanded. Phaser arrays and photon torpedoes lanced through the swarm. The Talaxians fought with desperate precision, their lighter ships darting between flood combat forms, targeting the proto-gravemine's Chief had identified. One proto-gravemind died, its massive biomass detonating in a cascade that took out hundreds of surrounding infection forms. Two more immediately absorbed its consciousness, growing larger, more intelligent. "They're adapting to our tactics," Seven warned. "The proto-gravemines are learning from each engagement. They're redistributing forces to exploit weaknesses in our formation." Chief watched a cluster of flood combat forms divert from the main attack, targeting a gap between two Hirogen warships. Hirogen vessel Prey's End. Adjust position 14 degrees starboard. Now. The hunter ship complied, closing the gap just as flood forms attempted to exploit it. Disruptor fire vaporized the assault force. "How did you predict that?" Janeway asked. "The flood thinks like a predator. It identifies weak prey first. I gave it a target that looked weak but wasn't." The battle escalated. Corrupted Borg cubes closed to weapons range, their cutting beams slicing through a Talaxian cruiser's shields. The ship exploded, adding its wreckage to the debris field. Flood forms immediately swarmed the escape pods, seeking fresh biomass. "Destroy those pods," Chief ordered. "Don't let them be taken." Hirogen hunters complied without hesitation. Honor demanded their allies die clean rather than become monsters. The Malon barges reached their trigger point. "All crew evacuated," the Malon captain reported. "Initiating plasma vent sequence." 3 barges opened their waste containers simultaneously, releasing antimatter-laced industrial toxins directly into the flood swarm's path. The result was apocalyptic, a wall of radioactive fire that incinerated thousands of infected forms in seconds. But the flood pushed through. Bioships emerged from the corrupted cubes, vessels grown from organic matter, powered by stolen Borg technology, piloted by proto-gravemines that understood 3-dimensional warfare better than most organic species. "They're flanking," Tuvok observed, "redirecting 40% of their forces to our portside perimeter." Chief saw it happening in real time. The flood dividing their forces, attacking from multiple vectors simultaneously. Standard military doctrine. Proof that the proto-gravemines weren't just intelligent, they were learning from every species they consumed. "All ships, rotate formation clockwise 90 degrees. Hirogen Alpha, your hunters take point on the new threat axis." The fleet complied, but the maneuver cost them. A Talaxian cruiser caught in the rotation took concentrated fire from 3 bioships. Its shields collapsed. Boarding parties swarmed through hull breaches. "Captain Taval is requesting emergency beam out," Kim shouted. "Negative," Chief stated. "The moment his crew transports flood spores will contaminate the receiving ship. Tell him to self-destruct. Honor his sacrifice." Janeway's face showed pain, but she nodded to Kim. On the view screen, the Talaxian cruiser detonated, taking 2 bioships with it. Seven's sensors shrieked warnings. "Chief, the proto-gravemines are doing something. They're merging. All 3 of them are combining their biomass into a single entity." Through the debris field, something massive began to take shape. Biomass flowed like liquid, corrupted Borg technology integrating seamlessly with organic matter. What emerged was nightmare incarnate, a grave mind, not a proto-form, but the real thing. A mountain of flesh and metal and stolen consciousness, floating through space on gravity manipulation stolen from Borg technology. Its voice boomed across every communication channel. "I am monument to all your sins. I am the Flood Ascendant. You cannot stop evolution. You can only join it. Tentacles the size of starships lashed out, grabbing a Hirogen warship and pulling it into the Gravemind's mass. The hunters fired everything. Disruptions, torpedoes, suicide rams. But the biomass absorbed it all, grew stronger, more intelligent with every consumed system. Chief watched the Forerunner countdown timer, 47 hours remaining. The fleet was losing. The gateway was 20 minutes behind them. If the Gravemind reached it, Cortana, I need options. Working on it, Chief. But this thing is massive. Concentrated firepower might work, but we'd need every ship firing simultaneously at a single weak point, and I'm not detecting any weak points. Chief studied the Gravemind structure, his Spartan tactical conditioning searching for solutions where none existed. Then he saw it. A pattern in the biomass distribution. The Gravemind was protecting something at its core, a cluster of Borg processors still functional despite Flood corruption. The collective network's central processors maintaining coordination across the entire Flood force. Target coordinates 447 Mark 23. All ships, full weapons spread. Everything you have, fire on my mark. That's the center of its mass, Janeway protested. Our weapons will barely penetrate. They don't need to penetrate. They need to distract. Chief opened a private channel. Cortana, can you access those Borg processors if I get close enough? A pause. Then quietly, Chief, close enough means boarding that thing. You'd be surrounded by Flood biomass. No shields, limited ammunition, and you'd need to stay connected for at least 90 seconds while I hack their systems. Can you do it? Yes, but Chief, then prep for emergency transport. All ships, fire. The fleet unleashed hell. The transporter beam released Master Chief directly into the Gravemind's core, a cathedral of corrupted biomass where flesh and technology had become indistinguishable. Tentacles pulsed with stolen neural implants. Walls breathed with the rhythm of 10,000 assimilated hearts. The air was thick with spores, each one seeking organic material to infect. Chief's shields flared immediately, biofilters working overtime to keep contamination at bay. His HUD displayed shield integrity dropping 3% per second. At this rate, he had 30 seconds before the Flood overwhelmed his defenses. Cortana, interface established? Working! The Borg processors are fighting me. Wait, they're not fighting, they're screaming. Chief, the consciousness fragments still trapped in this thing are aware. They're being used as computational substrate while maintaining awareness. It's focus. Can you shut down the coordination network? Not shut down, something better. Her avatar flickered into view on his HUD, her code diving deeper into the Borg Flood hybrid systems. I can broadcast a signal through their collective frequency. Every Flood form using stolen Borg implants will receive it simultaneously. An infection form shrieked from the shadows. Chief's magnum barked once, the round punching through its distended body. 3 more emerged, then 10, then 30. Cortana, I'm running out of time. Almost there. I just need to... Chief, the Gravemind knows you're here. It's diverting biomass to your location. You need to move. The flesh walls erupted. Combat forms tore through corrupted tissue, their bodies nightmarish fusions of human, Borg, and Flood biology. Chief's assault rifle spat controlled bursts, headshots, center mass, precision targeting even as his shields dropped to 15%. An energy sword ignited in his left hand, the blade carving through corrupted flesh. But they kept coming, always more. The Gravemind itself shifted, biomass flowing toward him like a tidal wave of corrupted meat. You cannot escape. You cannot win. Your sacrifice will feed perfection. The Gravemind's voice resonated through Chief's armor, through his bones, through his neural implants. It wasn't just sound. It was telepathic pressure, the accumulated consciousness of billions trying to crush his individual will. Chief had heard it before, on Installation 04, on the Ark. Every Gravemind spoke the same lies, used the same psychological warfare. "I've killed your kind before," Chief stated, his voice steady despite shields at 9%. "I'll do it again." "You speak of the Forerunner Halo Array, primitive weapons. This universe offers so much more. Borg technology, transporter systems, quantum manipulation. We will spread across dimensions. We will consume the Q continuum itself." "Not today." Chief felt Cortana's signal building through the Borg network, a cascading feedback loop that was simultaneously elegant and brutal. "Cortana, tell me you're ready." Signal prepared. "But Chief, once I broadcast this, every Borg flood hybrid will experience catastrophic neural overload. The proto-Graveminds, the combat forms, this central Gravemind, they'll all shut down simultaneously. But the signal will also alert every Borg cube in the quadrant. They'll know exactly what happened here. Acceptable risk. Do it." Cortana unleashed the signal. Across the battlefield, across the corrupted cubes, through every flood form carrying stolen Borg technology, a single command propagated at faster-than-light speeds. Purge. It wasn't a virus. It wasn't a weapon. It was something simpler and more devastating. Cortana had reactivated the Borg's original assimilation protocols. Every implant, every processor, every neural interface suddenly tried to assimilate the flood biomass using pre-corruption algorithms. The flood had learned to corrupt Borg technology. It hadn't learned to resist being assimilated by it. The Gravemind screamed, not with voice, with existence. Its biomass convulsed as 10,000 Borg implants simultaneously attempted to convert flood tissue into drone components. The organic matter resisted. The technology adapted. The conflict created a feedback loop that burned through both systems like fire through gasoline. Combat forms collapsed mid-attack, their stolen implants frying neural pathways. Carrier forms exploded as internal pressure overwhelmed corrupted structural integrity. The bioships attacking Voyager's fleet simply stopped functioning, their hybrid systems tearing themselves apart at the cellular level. Chief ran. His shields were at 2%, flood spores coating his armor so thickly they formed visible layers. He sprinted through collapsing corridors as the Gravemind's infrastructure dissolved around him. "Cortana, emergency transport, now!" "Voyager's transporters are locked on, but Chief, you're contaminated. Biofilters can't clear this much flood material. If they beam you aboard, then have them beam me into space. I'll EVA back manually. Your shields are at 1%. Then we'd better hurry." The transporter beam caught him 3 seconds before the Gravemind's core collapsed entirely. Chief materialized in hard vacuum 50 meters from Voyager's hull, his shields failing as flood spores flash froze in the absolute zero environment. Through his helmet display, he watched the Gravemind die. It didn't explode dramatically. It simply stopped being. The coordinated intelligence dissolved, leaving behind drifting biomass that no longer had purpose or direction. The corrupted Borg cubes tumbled through space, their systems dead, their drones reduced to frozen corpses. Across the battlefield, the Allied fleet had stopped firing. 53 ships, now 47 after casualties, drifted in shocked silence as the flood threat simply ceased to exist. "Chief, you're clear." Cortana's voice carried exhausted relief. "Voyager's beaming you directly to decontamination. And Chief, that was insane, even for you." He materialized in a sealed chamber where emergency force fields contained him in sterile isolation. Medical scanners swept his armor, cataloging contamination, while automated systems sprayed him with sterilization compounds that would kill anything organic not protected by Mjolnir shielding. Through the observation window, he saw Janeway, Seven, and the senior staff watching. The captain activated the comm. "Chief, status?" "Mission accomplished. The Gravemind is dead. The flood vectors are neutralized. He checked the Forerunner artifact's countdown, still active, but the sterilization protocol had paused. New text appeared. Contamination contained. Threat assessment reduced. Sterilization protocol suspended, pending verification. The artifact is giving us a window, Cortana explained. It won't cancel the countdown entirely until it confirms zero flood presence in this region. But we've bought time. 7 studied sensor readouts. All flood biomass within scanner range has been neutralized. The Borg assimilation feedback loop was devastatingly effective. However, she paused. We destroyed 17 infection sites and 1 grave mine. But the initial outbreak infected multiple Borg cubes. Some escaped through transwarp before we could engage them. There may be additional contamination elsewhere in the quadrant. Then we hunt them down. Chief removed his helmet, his face showing the toll of continuous combat, exhaustion, determination, the unflinching resolve of a soldier who'd fought impossible wars before. How many cubes escaped? Unknown. Borg collective communications are fragmented. They experienced massive casualties. Entire unimatrixes went silent. 7's expression showed something complex. Relief mixed with survivor's guilt. She'd been Borg once. Watching them be destroyed, even by the flood, clearly affected her. Q materialized in the observation room, his usual theatrical entrance subdued. Well done, Spartan. You actually killed it. The Continuum was monitoring. We hadn't seen a grave mine destroyed through direct combat since the Forerunner's final campaigns. The fight's not over, Chief stated. There are still flood Borg hybrids in the quadrant, and even if we eliminate them all, the artifact won't fully cancel the sterilization protocol until it's certain. Actually, Q snapped his fingers, and holographic data filled the room, sensor readings from across 50 light years. While you were busy being heroic, something interesting happened. The Borg collective did something unprecedented. They're self-sterilizing. Janeway leaned forward. Explain. Every cube, every drone, every installation that had contact with flood contamination, the Borg are destroying them. Tactical cubes are hunting down their own vessels. Drones are self-terminating at the first sign of corruption. The collective has decided that the flood represents a greater threat than their own existence. They're willing to sacrifice millions of drones to prevent further spread. 7's remaining human eye widened. The Borg do not sacrifice. They adapt. They assimilate. They learned fear, Q interrupted. You taught them that, Chief. You showed them a threat they cannot assimilate, cannot adapt to, cannot overcome. And now they're running scared, burning their own infrastructure to stay ahead of the infection. Chief processed this information. An enemy so terrifying that even the Borg chose self-destruction over confrontation. In one sense, it validated his warnings. In another, it created a new problem. If the Borg are destroying infected vessels, they're also destroying evidence. The Forerunner artifact needs verification that all flood contamination is eliminated. Without that evidence, the countdown continues. Cortana finished. Chief, we're back to racing against time. We need to hunt down every remaining flood Borg hybrid, verify their destruction, and provide proof to the artifact before the sterilization protocol activates. Janeway activated the fleet-wide channel. All vessels, this is Captain Janeway. Our mission isn't finished. We need to form search and destroy teams. Coordinate with Borg vessels. Yes, I know how that sounds. And eliminate any remaining flood contamination. We have... She checked the countdown. 42 hours. The Hirogen Alpha's response came first. We will hunt. The flood makes worthy prey. Talaxian forces acknowledged. Even the Malon, their barges destroyed but their crews alive, offered support vessels. Chief watched the Allied fleet reorganize, watched former enemies coordinate like practiced squad mates, watched a universe that had never faced the Flood learn to fight it in real time. "Chief," Janeway said through the comm, "you've done more for this quadrant in 3 days than some species accomplish in lifetimes. When this is over, when we've verified every last Flood cell is dead, what will you do?" He looked at his armor, at the scorched plating and depleted shields, at the reflection of a soldier who'd crossed dimensions to fight a war that wasn't his. "I'll finish the fight, whatever it takes." The artifact's chamber had become mission control, Forerunner architecture humming with power as holographic displays tracked every search team across the Delta Quadrant. Master Chief stood at the center, coordinating 18 simultaneous operations through Cortana's neural link. Around him, Voyager's crew worked alongside Hyrogen hunters, Talaxian engineers, and even a handful of liberated Borg drones who'd severed their connection to the collective rather than risk Flood contamination. 36 hours had passed since the Gravemine's destruction. The countdown showed 6 hours remaining. "Team 7 reporting," a Hyrogen voice crackled through subspace. "We've located a derelict cube near the Necrit expanse. Scanning for Flood signatures." Chief monitored their progress through tactical overlays. "Use maximum caution. If you detect any biomass readings, fall back and let Voyager's torpedoes handle it." Acknowledged. No honor in death by infection. 7 of 9 worked beside Chief, her Borg efficiency essential for cataloging the massive data streams. "We have verified elimination of 14 contamination sites. 3 remain unconfirmed. The artifact requires 100% certainty before canceling the sterilization protocol." "Then we find certainty." Chief pulled up coordinates for the unconfirmed sites. "Teams 4, 9, and 11 redirect to these locations. I want visual confirmation and biological scans within 2 hours." Janeway descended from the bridge, exhaustion evident in her posture but determination burning in her eyes. "Chief, we've been pushing the fleet non-stop for a day and a half. Crews are at breaking point if we don't stand down soon. If we stand down, 43 billion people die when the artifact activates." Chief's tone wasn't harsh, just factual. "Captain, I understand fatigue. I've pushed beyond it more times than I can count, but we're close. The finish line is visible. And if we cross it, if we eliminate every trace of Flood contamination, and the artifact cancels the protocol?" Janeway studied him. "What happens to you, Chief? Q says the Continuum is still debating whether to send you home or erase you from this timeline entirely." Before Chief could respond, alarms shrieked through the chamber. "Incoming transmission!" Harry Kim's voice was tight with tension. "It's... Captain, you need to hear this." The view screen activated, showing a transmission unlike anything they'd encountered. The visual was corrupted, fracturing between multiple realities. Chief recognized the phenomenon from his arrival. Dimensional interference. And then a face appeared. Not human, not alien, something else. The transmission resolved into a figure composed of living mathematics and quantum probability, a being that existed simultaneously across multiple states of reality. When it spoke, its voice harmonized with frequencies that shouldn't be audible. "I am Keeper of Domain Archives, Forerunner Monitoring Protocol. 343 Guilty Spark, designate. You have contained Flood outbreak. Verification, 97.3%. Chief recognized that designation. Monitor, you're a Forerunner AI. Affirmative. This installation was placed in Star Trek Universe Designation Alpha to monitor dimensional barriers. Your arrival triggered quarantine protocols. Flood contamination confirmed. Sterilization sequence initiated as per Builder directives." Cortana's avatar appeared, interfacing directly with the transmission. "You're communicating from the domain network. That's impossible. The domain was supposedly destroyed when the halos fired." Incorrect. Domain exists outside linear time. Destruction in your universe does not equal destruction across all dimensions. I have monitored 17 universes for 3 million cycles. This is first successful quarantine response without requiring sterilization. 7 studied the transmission data. You've been watching other realities. Have there been other dimensional breaches, other flood outbreaks? The monitor's form shifted, displaying holographic records. Universes where the flood had broken through dimensional barriers. Chief saw timelines where entire realities fell, galaxies consumed, civilizations that developed faster than light travel, quantum manipulation, even limited time travel, all overwhelmed by flood intelligence that adapted faster than any defensive measure. 83 breaches recorded, 79 required full sterilization. 3 achieved partial containment. You are first to eliminate primary gravemind and prevent exponential spread. What happened to those other realities? Janeway asked quietly. Sterilization protocols activated. Civilizations within 50 light-year radius terminated. Flood contamination eliminated. Dimensional barriers restored. Acceptable casualties. The chamber fell silent. Trillions dead across multiple realities, all to contain the flood. The Forerunners' final solution to an impossible problem. Burn away infection by burning away everything. Chief broke the silence. Monitor current flood contamination status. Analyzing. 17. Primary vectors. Eliminated. Secondary infections. 14. Eliminated. 3 remain unverified. Borg collective, self-purge, 92% complete. Residual spore presence, 0.003%, below manifestation threshold. Below threshold means the remaining spores can't form new grave mines, Cortana translated. They're isolated cells without sufficient biomass to achieve coordination. Correct. However, sterilization protocol requires 0 contamination, not minimal, 0. 3 sites remain unverified. Time remaining 5 hours 42 minutes. Q materialized in a flash of light, his expression uncharacteristically serious. Monitor, this is Q of the Q continuum. We've been monitoring this situation. On behalf of the continuum, I'm requesting you cancel the sterilization protocol. We guarantee containment of any residual flood presence. Request denied. Q Continuum designation entities lack jurisdiction over Forerunner security measures. Builder protocols supersede dimensional authority. Containment must be verified, not guaranteed. Then let us verify, Chief stated. Give me the coordinates of the 3 unconfirmed sites. My teams will provide absolute proof of elimination. The monitor's form flickered. Processing. Acceptable. Coordinates transmitting. Warning. Final site contains unusual readings. Quantum signature suggests Borg flood hybrid. Achieved transwarp jump before neural cascade. Current location. Uncertain. Probability. Analysis. Entity exists in quantum superposition across multiple spatial coordinates. Seven's fingers flew across her console. That's impossible. Transwarp conduits require stable entry and exit points. A hybrid in superposition would be simultaneously existing in multiple locations, which means it's everywhere and nowhere, Cortana finished. A Floodborg hybrid that exists in quantum uncertainty. If it collapses into stable reality, it could manifest anywhere in the quadrant, Chief said. Monitor, can you track quantum probability vectors? Predict where it's most likely to materialize? Calculating. Probability convergence indicates manifestation near greatest concentration of biomass. Analyzing current positions. The holographic display shifted, showing the entire Allied fleet's position. Every ship, every crew member, every living thing gathered around the gateway. Probability, 94.6%. Entity will manifest at your current coordinates. Time to manifestation, 17 minutes. Janeway's command training took over instantly. Red alert! All ships, fall back from the gateway. Scatter formation Delta 9. Move! But Chief was already analyzing the tactical situation. Negative. If we scatter, it'll pursue individual ships. We need to keep it contained in one location. You want to let a Flood-Borg hybrid materialize right on top of us? I want to kill it the moment it does. Chief opened fleet communications. All vessels maintain position, charge all weapons. The moment that thing achieves stable reality, we hit it with everything simultaneously. Overwhelming force in the first 3 seconds. Don't give it time to adapt. The Hirogen Alpha's laughter rumbled through subspace. Finally, a worthy hunt. Chief, Seven said quietly, if the entity manifests within our formation, we'll be at point-blank range. Our weapons could damage each other. Friendly fire casualties could be catastrophic. Better than letting it escape and infect the quadrant. Chief checked the countdown. 5 hours, 23 minutes. Monitor, if we eliminate this hybrid, will that satisfy your verification requirements? Affirmative. All primary and secondary contamination would be accounted for. Sterilization protocol would cancel. Then we end this. 13 minutes passed in tense silence. Every sensor was focused on quantum fluctuations. Every weapon charged to maximum. Crews held collective breath across 47 ships. At 12 seconds, reality began to fracture. Space folded, quantum probability collapsed, and the hybrid manifested. It was massive, a Borg tactical cube that had been partially consumed by flood biomass. Half its hull showed geometric perfection. The other half writhed with organic corruption. Its weapons were simultaneously cutting beams and biological projectiles. Its shielding flickered between adapted Borg frequencies and flood regenerative tissue. Fire! Chief commanded. The Allied fleet unleashed apocalypse, photon torpedoes from Voyager, disruptor cannons from Hirogen warships, phaser arrays from Talaxian cruisers, plasma weapons from salvaged Malon technology. Every weapon system, every energy type, every destructive capability converged on a single target simultaneously. The hybrid's adaptive shielding tried to compensate, but there were too many different attack vectors, too many energy types, too much raw destructive force hitting from too many angles at once. For 3 seconds, it looked like the strategy would work. Then the hybrid opened a trans-warp conduit, not to escape, to pull in reinforcements. Through the green vortex emerged more Borg flood hybrids, smaller vessels, scout ships, drones in EVA suits modified with biological thrusters. The escaped remnants of the original outbreak, thought destroyed, now converging for a final desperate attack. Chief's tactical analysis was instant. Hirogen vessels, intercept the small craft. Talaxian cruisers, concentrate on the cube's propulsion. Voyager. I know! Janeway was already giving orders. Tuvok, target their transwarp generator. Seven, can you collapse that conduit? Attempting. Seven's hands moved with mechanical precision, her Borg implants interfacing with systems that were simultaneously familiar and horrifically corrupted. The cube fired. Cutting beams sliced through a Talaxian cruiser's shields, carving the ship in half. Biological projectiles impacted a Hirogen warship, flood spores immediately beginning to corrupt hull plating. Chief made a decision. Cortana, how much charge left in my armor shield system? Chief, no. Whatever you're thinking. How much? 87%. Why? He opened a channel to Q. Get me inside that cube, right next to their transwarp generator. Q materialized beside him, eyes wide. That's suicide, even for you. Can you do it? A pause. Then Q smiled, a genuine expression of admiration. You magnificent suicidal monkey. Yes. But Chief, you'll have maybe 90 seconds before the flood biomass overwhelms your shields. After that, he didn't finish. 90 seconds is enough. Chief looked at Janeway. Captain, the moment I'm inside, collapse that transwarp conduit. Trap the remaining hybrids in normal space where your fleet can destroy them. And trap you inside, Janeway said. Acceptable risk, ma'am. He nodded once, then looked at Q. Do it. Q snapped his fingers. Chief materialized in hell. The cube's interior was nightmare incarnate. Borg technology fused with flood biomass. Drones that were simultaneously dead and horrifically alive. And at the center, the transwarp generator pulsing with stolen power. His shields began dropping immediately, 7% per second. Flood spores coated his armor. Infection forms shrieked from alcoves. Combat forms lumbered toward him, their hybrid bodies moving with terrible purpose. Cortana, I need you to overload that generator. Maximum explosion, enough to destroy this entire cube. Chief, that explosion will kill you. Your shields can't protect you from a transwarp detonation at ground zero. I know. He raised his rifle, firing controlled bursts at the approaching combat forms. How long do you need? 60 seconds to establish interface. 30 seconds to create overload cascade. Chief. Then we have 90 seconds. Let's make them count. He fought, not for survival, not for glory, for 90 seconds of purpose. Every shot mattered. Every dead flood form was one less threat to this universe. His shields dropped to 50%, 30, 20. Cortana, status? Cascade initiated. 30 seconds to detonation. Chief, I can't extract you. Q's gone. The interference from the generator is too strong for transport. I know. His shields hit 10%. An infection form latched onto his helmet. His rifle clicked empty. He drew his magnum, put a round through the creature, then turned toward the generator. It was glowing, power building exponentially. The cube shuddered. Borg systems tried to compensate, failed, tried again. 20 seconds, Cortana whispered. Chief stood in front of the generator, his shields at 4%, flood biomass pressing in from every direction. In his mind, he calculated one final equation. One Spartan's life versus 43 billion civilians. The math was simple. Cortana, before the end, tell Voyager to finish the fight. Chief, wait, there's another signal. It's... A flash of light consumed everything. Master Chief opened his eyes to impossible light. He stood in a space that wasn't space, a realm where physics were suggestions rather than laws. The Q continuum. Chief recognized it from Cortana's downloaded records of Voyager's encounters. Reality here was metaphorical, shaped by consciousness rather than matter. Q stood before him, no longer wearing theatrical costumes or playful expressions. Here, in his native dimension, he appeared as pure potential, a being of light and thought that had existed since the universe's first moments. Before you ask, Q said, yes, you died. The transwarp generator detonated, took out the entire Borg flood hybrid cube and sealed the breach. Very heroic. Quite moving, actually. The continuum was impressed. Chief looked at his hands, solid, real, despite being in a dimension beyond normal reality. Then why am I here? Because the continuum had a debate. Lasted approximately 3 microseconds by your timescale, quite heated by ours. The question, what do we do with the Spartan who saved a universe that wasn't his own? Through the quantum foam of the continuum, Chief saw glimpses of what had happened after his death. The Allied fleet destroying the remaining flood Borg hybrids, the Forerunner monitor verifying 0 contamination, the sterilization protocol cancelling with 5 minutes and 43 seconds remaining. 43 billion lives saved by margins that would make probability theorists weep. You won, Q continued. Against impossible odds, with no support structure, fighting enemies you'd never encountered in a universe whose rules you barely understood. You won. He paused, and for once his voice carried genuine respect. The continuum has seen countless civilizations rise and fall. We've watched species achieve transcendence. but we've rarely seen anything as stubbornly, magnificently mortal as what you did." "I did what was necessary." Chief's response was automatic, the answer of a soldier who'd long ago accepted that necessity often meant sacrifice. "Exactly. No grand speeches, no philosophical debates, just action when it mattered most." Q gestured, and reality shifted. "Which brings us to the problem. You're dead in the Star Trek universe. Your body was atomized in a trans-warp explosion, but you're not dead here, and the Continuum has the power to change that." Chief understood immediately. "You can resurrect me. We can do more than that. We can send you home, back to your universe, your timeline, your war against the Covenant and the Flood. Everything you've experienced here, these 3 days that felt like months, we can make it so you never left. You'll wake up on that halo ring, the Forerunner artifact dormant. No dimensional breach, no contamination. We can reset everything." The offer hung in the quantum space between them. Chief thought of his universe, the UNSC, humanity, still fighting for survival against Covenant remnants. The Flood contained but never truly defeated. His place in that war, his purpose, his mission. Then he thought of Captain Janeway and her crew, stranded 70,000 light-years from home, but refusing to abandon their principles. 7 of 9, learning to reclaim her humanity one difficult choice at a time. The Hirogen Alpha, who'd learned that hunting alongside prey was more fulfilling than hunting it. The Talaxian engineers who'd sacrificed ships to save people they'd never met. "What about Cortana?" he asked. Q's expression softened, perhaps the first genuine emotion Chief had seen from the omnipotent being. "Your AI uploaded her core consciousness into Voyager's computer during the final moments. She survived. She's currently interfacing with their systems, helping coordinate post-battle repairs, and probably annoying the hell out of their EMH. And the artifact, the monitor, confirmed 0 Flood presence. The monitor returned to the domain network to continue its multiversal vigil. The gateway is secure. The Delta Quadrant survived. You saved them, Chief." Chief processed this information with Spartan efficiency. The mission was complete. The threat eliminated. The objective achieved. By all military logic, he should accept Q's offer, return to his war, his universe, his designated purpose. But something had changed during these 3 days. He'd fought alongside species that had every reason to be enemies. Watched the Borg, the embodiment of forced conformity, choose self-destruction over compromise with the Flood. Seen Q, an omnipotent being, show genuine fear and respect. Learned that even in a universe built on exploration and diplomacy, there was room for soldiers like him. The monitor said it's been watching 17 universes, Chief stated. 83 Flood breaches, most requiring sterilization. It's still monitoring. Q nodded slowly, understanding where this was going. Which means more breaches could happen, more outbreaks, more civilizations unprepared for what the Flood represents. Chief met Q's gaze. "In my universe, we built the Spartan program to fight the Covenant. But the Covenant was just one threat. The Flood was another. And if the Forerunners set up monitoring stations across multiple dimensions," he didn't need to finish the sentence. "You want to stay," Q said. "You want to remain in this universe as some kind of multiversal crisis responder. A soldier who fights the battles that civilizations like the Federation aren't equipped to handle. The Federation explores, seeks peaceful solutions, builds alliances." Chief's voice carried certainty born from 3 days of witnessing those principles in action. That's valuable, essential. But sometimes exploration finds things that don't want peace. Sometimes diplomatic solutions fail. And when that happens, someone needs to stand in the gap. Q studied him for a long moment. "You realize what you're proposing?" You'd be abandoning your universe, your war, everything you fought for. Your humanity needs you. The UNSC needs you. My humanity will survive without me. There are other Spartans, other soldiers. Chief thought of the tactical realities, but this universe, Star Trek, they're explorers stumbling into multiversal conflicts they're not designed to fight. The Borg adapted to them. The flood would have consumed them. What happens when the next threat emerges? The next dimensional breach? You'd be alone. No UNSC support. No Spartan fire teams. Just you and whatever alliances you can forge. I've been alone before. Chief's response was simple, factual. And I'm not entirely alone. I have Cortana. Captain Janeway proved willing to trust me. The Allied fleet learned to fight together. That's a foundation. Q laughed, a sound that resonated across quantum dimensions. The Continuum debated what to do with you. Some wanted you erased from this timeline. Others wanted you sent home. I argued for something different. He snapped his fingers, and Chief felt reality solidify around him. I argued that a universe based on infinite diversity and infinite combinations should have room for one more variable. A soldier turned guardian, a Spartan who fights not for empire or ideology, but for the simple principle that some threats require warriors to face them. Chief felt his body reforming, not the atomized remains, but something new. His Mjolnir armor reconstructed around him, shields at full capacity. His weapons reloaded, even his energy sword, lost in the final battle, reappeared at his hip. I'm giving you a gift, Chief. Not immortality. You're still mortal, still capable of death, but resilience. The kind that soldiers need when fighting wars that never truly end. Q's form began to fade as normal reality reasserted itself. You'll wake aboard Voyager. They'll ask questions. Answer them honestly. Janeway deserves that much. Q, Chief said before the omnipotent being disappeared entirely. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. This universe has seen the Borg, species 8472, time paradoxes, and now the flood. Who knows what'll come next? Q's smile was genuine. But I suppose that's why you're staying. Someone has to be ready for the impossible. He vanished in a flash of light. Chief materialized in Voyager's sickbay, surrounded by startled crew members. The doctor's holographic form flickered with surprise. 7 of 9's ocular implant focused on him with something approaching disbelief. And Captain Janeway stood at the doorway, her expression cycling through shock, relief, and something that might have been joy. Chief, she breathed. You were dead. We scanned the debris. You were... I was. Q intervened. Chief removed his helmet, meeting her gaze. Captain, I need to discuss my status aboard this vessel. If you'll have me, I'd like to stay. Help Voyager get home. And maybe... He paused, choosing words carefully. Maybe help this quadrant prepare for threats they don't see coming. Janeway studied him for a long moment. Then she smiled, a commander's smile that acknowledged the weight of decisions made under impossible pressure. Voyager could use a strategic operations advisor, someone with your experience fighting unconventional threats. The position isn't Starfleet regulation, but then again, we're 70,000 light-years from anyone who can object. She extended her hand. Welcome aboard, Chief. Officially this time. He shook her hand. A simple gesture, a soldier finding new purpose in a universe that needed soldiers willing to stand between exploration and extinction. Through the viewport, the gateway pulsed with potential, dozens of wormholes leading to unknown destinations. Beyond it, the Delta Quadrant stretched vast and dangerous. Beyond that, the Alpha Quadrant where Voyager's home waited. And beyond even that, 17 other universes monitored by Forerunner AI, each one potentially vulnerable to threats that required warriors like him. Master Chief had saved 43 billion lives in 3 days. Now he had the rest of his life to see how many more he could save. Cortana's voice whispered through his neural link. "Chief, I've been analyzing Voyager's long-range sensors. There's something happening near the Nekrit expanse. Energy signatures that match neither Borg nor Flood, but something else entirely. Something new." He replaced his helmet, systems coming online with familiar precision. "Then we investigate. Time to see what else this universe has waiting." Captain Janeway heard the exchange through his external speakers. She nodded once, understanding passing between commander and warrior. "Mr. Paris, set course for the Nekrit expanse. Yellow alert. Whatever's out there, we're going to face it on our terms." As Voyager's engines engaged and the ship leapt to warp, Master Chief stood ready, a Spartan in a universe of exploration, a soldier who'd found a new war worth fighting. The Flood was contained, the immediate threat neutralized. But the multiverse was vast, and dangers lurked in dimensions humans, both UNSC and Federation, were only beginning to comprehend. Somewhere in the quantum foam between realities, the Forerunner monitor observed. Calculating, monitoring, waiting for the next breach, the next outbreak, the next impossible threat. And now, for the first time in 3 million years of solitary vigil, it wasn't alone. New worlds await. More stories soon.